Well, lots of attention for a story we brought to you yesterday on this broadcast. Texas Republican Ted Cruz and California Democrat Dianne Feinstein, two senators, had a tense exchange about gun control and the Second Amendment. When Mr. Cruz challenged Mrs. Feinstein over how Congress can limit rights under the Second Amendment, asking hypothetically if she thought it would be okay to limit rights under the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendments. That's free speech and search and seizure. Here's some of that exchange.
This does not prohibit, you use the word prohibit, it exempts 2,271 weapons. Isn't that enough for the people in the United States?
Mr. Chairman.
Do they need a bazooka? Do they need other high-powered weapons that military people use to kill in close combat? I don't think so. So I come from a different place than you do. I respect your views. I ask you to respect my views.
Nobody doubts her sincerity or her passion. And yet, at the same time, I would note that she chose not to answer the question that I asked, which is, in her judgment, would it be consistent with the Constitution for Congress to specify which books are permitted and which books are not, and to use the specific number?
The answer is obvious, no.
Well, some critics slammed Senator Cruz for being rude. Others thought he had a point. Here is radio host Mark Levin, the Washington Post's Charles Krauthammer, and starting this exchange off, or this soundbite, is Senator Feinstein not long after that exchange.
Well, I just felt patronized. I felt he was somewhat arrogant about it.
I thought Cruz was, also the manner in which he asked it, I think it appeared a little bit offensive. I don't think Cruz helped himself, but on the general argument, Feinstein's side, even though he won in committee, is going to lose.
The idea that professional public officials, career senators, albeit temporary, that is, they may have a career in the Senate, but they won't be there forever. The idea that they can fundamentally alter the Bill of Rights is unacceptable to those of us, you, who understand what it means.
So, did Senator Cruz go over the line? Joining me now for a fair and balanced debate, Ben Ferguson of the Icon Radio Network and host of the Ben Ferguson Show, and Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of NDN, a think tank and former Clinton campaign advisor. Wow, has this gotten a lot of pickup. Wow, there's been a lot of focus on something that, I mean, I think we all agree right now has no chance of passing. And yet it brings up a lot of dynamics that we've seen in the gun control debate. And are people being respectful of one another's views? Is one side trying to alter our fundamental constitutional rights? Your reaction to it, Ben?
Well, I think the biggest issue that Ted was bringing up, the senator was saying, look, who are you to decide what gun I can and cannot have based on you basically saying, well, I know there's a Bill of Rights, but I still, as one senator, think that all these guns on my special list are inappropriate for you. She said, do you think you should be able to have a bazooka? Well, Dianne Feinstein should know this. It's already illegal to own a bazooka in America. Why bring that up? But the point he was making was, so why do you get to decide which guns I'm allowed to own, because the Constitution says that you as one person should not be able to go out and then give your special Dianne Feinstein list, which is exactly what she did. She put them on the pegboards in Washington, D.C., saying, here are the ones I think you shouldn't be able to have.
Before I get to Simon, Ben, do you think he was rude?
No, I don't. I think it's about time we had people that actually were blunt in Washington. They're blunt in front of the cameras every day. Why not be blunt to one another and actually get something done?
Simon, same question to you, and I want to give you some color from you know, a right-wing critic who says she doesn't think, Ann Coulter, she doesn't think he was being rude, and she actually thinks that we need our politicians, especially female politicians, to toughen up, go in there, don't come out and say he was patronizing me, he was rude, come out and say, I'm a U.S. Senator, I can handle myself.
I think anyone who knows Dianne Feinstein knows she can handle it herself, Megyn. And I think that what she was saying was that there is a tradition of decorum in the Senate, that the way that senators talk to each other historically in open settings like this, there tends to be a level bipartisanship and friendliness that is an old tradition. And I think that there was a sense that this rookie senator from Texas kind of violated the rules, the unwritten rules of the Senate yesterday by the way that he challenged, the chairman of the committee. I think on the other issue of the argument itself, and I'm not a lawyer and you are, Megyn, you know that the role of Congress is to interpret the Constitution, and as things change over time, where the Constitution is over 200 years old, it wasn't perfect. In fact, we've amended it, we've made changes to it, and Congress's job is to apply those principles to new and changing circumstances. Clearly, I think it is within the rights of Congress to be able to determine what types of arms are able to be borne by people and carried by the American people, and certainly we've done it before. As was said, the bazookas are not legal, and just like with speech, there's
here's what I want to get to, because here's what I want to get to, and I've said this publicly because I don't give my political opinions, but I give my legal opinions because that is an area in which I do have some expertise, and I said this on O'Reilly. Ben, there is no question that Congress has the right to limit our Second Amendment rights to some extent. Now, to what extent, there's a question about.
Sure.
But the Supreme Court of the United States held recently, and this is from Heller, like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. So why was Senator Cruz going after her on whether one can limit? Why wasn't he talking about whether it's smart to limit, whether we should limit, but whether one can limit has been decided?
Because Dianne Feinstein does not want to have a debate or discussion about the limits. She has come out with her law that she says will make everything perfect, which is directly attacking specific weapons, some of them that just don't logically make sense. And if you challenge her on that, she then says that you're some sort of gun-crazy rookie, cocky freshman, and how dare you come in there with all her seniority and even question her authority. And my point is this. I had a gun put to my head. This is a very personal issue for me. And the gun that was bought illegally, that was sold illegally, that was used to shoot at me from 5 feet away was not on her special list of weapons. And so I would say to Dianne Feinstein, you might want to add one. But the problem is, where do you stop adding? And that's why the list doesn't work. And that's why I was asking her, can one senator go out and decide what guns are perfect and what guns are inappropriate to use in society, as she has done it? And he was challenging her on that, and he should be doing that.
But is it one senator, or would it be? I mean, that's how we started the segment, Simon. Of course, it doesn't take just one senator. It takes 51 senators, and then it takes a majority of the House, and then it takes a president in order to pass a law where our elected representatives would say, these are the guns we think you can have, and these are the guns we think you can't have. And that is something there is a history for doing, and when it was done in 1994, the NRA never challenged the constitutionality of that law.
Well, Megyn, I think part of what we're seeing is that there really hasn't been a debate about gun violence in the U.S. in a long time, and I think some of the arguments the gun rights advocates are using aren't very good ones, frankly, because they haven't really been challenged in a public setting. I think the argument that Senator Cruz made yesterday was a little silly. I think the other argument that gun rights advocates have been making about how we've developed a culture of violence in the United States is just also equally silly. Crime is half of what it was. Violent crime is half of what it was 20 years ago. We've seen a plummeting of crime, of violent crime in the United States. The only measure of violent crime that's gone up in any way is the number of people shot who've been going to hospitals, which is an indication that guns are that there's too many guns. And so I'm going to finish, Ben. So the point is that I think part of I think the point is that I think their arguments are stale, and they got to do a better job.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't think our arguments are stale for the fact that you just act as if gun violence has gone up. 50% of the gun crimes committed last year, unfortunately, in this country where there was a gun involved were suicides, and that number has skyrocketed. So you have to look at the actual context of the numbers and not just paint with this broad brush that somehow guns are making this world a horrible, terrible place. You have to pass sensible laws that deal with mental health issues, that deal with criminals, that deal with black market guns like the one that was used against me. But the core of what bothers me the most is you had a senator asking about the constitutionality of an issue, and he brought up a comparison with books, and they say that has no place in Washington. Well, if there's no place in Washington for this, where can you debate the Constitution in this country?
Before I let you go, because when she said to him, you know, thank you for the lecture, which clearly she wasn't really grateful for it. It reminded me of that Geraldine, George H.W. Bush moment. Remember?